Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be looking at Walking Wake EX, which is a new EX card. It's an ancient. It's a pretty solid attacker that can do some pretty good damage for pretty cheap. And it's just going to be kind of also taking on Palkia's new identity as well. We're playing this with Palkia and Chien Pao, which is kind of a deck that was already established with like the Barrel Entry, but now instead we're going to be playing Sada and Walking Wake. Their deck as well as Brute Bonnet for the Walking Wake. So the Walking Wake has an ability. It basically just says its attacks have Shred, which basically the ability is just like this Pokemon's attacks go through all effects, which is kind of mid. I mean, it lets you gives you an answer to Mimikyu, which you already kind of had in Greninja, but that I guess it does make your stall matchup better. And then the attack here for a water and 2 colorless does 120 damage, and then if your opponent's item Pokemon is affected by a special condition, you do 120 more. So you can do 240, and then you're likely going to have double turbo energy on this guy, so you can attack with it for 2 attachments, and then you're going to be hitting 220, combined with poison damage from our Brute Bonnet, and it's going to be 230. So pretty good number there. 230 is going to be KOing Roaring Moon, it KOs Iron Hands, it KOs like a lot of the new future ancient, or a lot of the new future EXs like the Iron Crown. It'll KO Iron Valiant, obviously. So just pretty good number, 220. It'll KO like all the relevant basic EXs and basic Vs, which is pretty cool. And then we're supplementing this with a Palkia V-Star 2-2 line, which can star portal to power up Pokemon, obviously, as well as being a pretty solid attacker itself. And then we also have one copy of Chien Pao in here, because Sada's Vitality with Energy Switch and Star Portal, you can pull off some pretty big Hail Blades pretty quickly. So in addition, Free Chill is a pretty good ability to get energy out of her deck, combined with Earthen Vessel. So yeah, let's just get right into the deck list here. Starting off with 3 Walking Wakes. It's a pretty solid attacker, but we have other attackers in the deck. We have Palkia, Chien Pao, and of course Greninja is a pretty good attacker if you can pull it off. So, but that being said, Walking Wake is like the main focus of the deck, doing pretty good amount of damage, and a pretty good amount of HP as well. When you can take in consideration the Booster Energy Capsule that can give this Pokemon 280 HP, as well as not being affected by Toxic Powder as well. Which is pretty good. 280 HP Pokemon slapping for 220 is pretty decent. So that's kind of the strength of the Walking Wake. Then we have 2 copies of Brute Bonnet, which is only here to make our opponent's out of Pokemon poisoned when it has that boost energy on it, in order to make our Walking Wake deal more damage. 2-2 line of Palkia V-Star, like I mentioned, for Star Portal and Subspace Spell being a pretty good, or I guess not good, it's pretty decent attack. 1 copy of Chien Pao for big Hail Blade knockouts, as well as Free Chill to take out energies, and then 1 copy of Radiant Greninja for a little bit of draw support. The supporters is going to be 4 copies of Irida, which gets a lot better with Prime Catcher, basically turning every single one of your Iridas into a boss, which is pretty decent when you take into consideration that we can play Cologne in this deck as well for our Greninja, so we can do the classic Star Port onto Greninja, and then Cologne, or I guess Counter Catcher, or not Counter Catcher, Prime Catcher, Cologne, and Manaphy, and destroy some little Pokemon with our Greninja, which is pretty good. So Irida becoming a boss, whatever you want, pretty much with the Prime Catcher is really, really helpful. Also, 4 copies of Sada, like I mentioned, for our Walking Wakes, which is kind of like the replacement for Melanie, which this deck already had. So we're going to be playing 4 copies of Sada to not only will it power up 2 energy onto our Ancients, as I mentioned, Chien Pao can actually discard those with Hail Blade for some pretty big knockouts. So it's better than Melanie in many cases when you're taking into consideration Chien Pao. And then we're still playing 2 copies of Boss, because Prime Catcher isn't going to be enough in this deck list that we're aiming to be pretty aggressive with some pretty high damaging attacks very quickly. So 2 copies of Boss. The item cards is going to be 4 copies of Nest Ball just to set up all our Pokemon. Same with 4 Ultra Ball, just kind of the classic. There's not too many fancy things going on in terms of like Pokemon lines. We just have a bunch of basics and then 2 Palkia V-Star. So just Nest Ball and Ultra Ball will pretty much do the trick here. No low HP Pokemon to take advantage of Buddy Poppin'. We have 4 copies of Trekking Shoes, just for a little bit more turbo. Greninja in the Trekking Shoes is pretty good. So we just want to be able to turbo through the deck that a little bit more. We don't have too much of a draw engine. We only have Greninja, so we want to have a little bit more extra draw power there with the shoes. 3 copies of Earthen Vessel to find our energy, as well as discarding them for our Sadas and our Star Portal. 2 copies of Energy Switch, because like I mentioned, we don't have Melanie in the format anymore, and we're going to have to play Sada instead. So we can Sada and then actually Energy Switch onto like our Chien Pao or our Palkia or our Greninja in order to pull off those attacks. without having Melanie to our Pokemon V specifically. Mentioned one copy of Canceling Cologne, so we can blow off those powerful Cologne plays, and Prime Catcher just makes it that much better. One copy of Switch, which you have to keep in mind, Prime Catcher is also a Switch card, so we technically have two Switch cards here. Now, there's a consideration. I think I would want to add one more. I just don't know the spot or the cut for it. Because Brute Bonnet does have a pretty hefty retreat cost of 3. So that Pokemon could get pretty easily trapped up there. But we do have like 4 double charge energies as well we can use to retreat Bonnet. So not 100% sure yet, but I do want to try and add a third Switch card. One copy of Heavy Ball, which is just good for pricing Greninja. Greninja is really, really good usually in these water decks, so being able to have access to that, as well as our one copy of Chien Pao is a pretty good attacker as well, so we just have pretty much full access to those cards, and you can ear it up for the Heavy Ball, so you put really easy way to get those guys out of the prize cards. Mention one Prime Catcher as our ace spec, really, really powerful card. Shouldn't really have to say too much more. 3 booster caps, 1 EXP share, as well as 2 Town Sword to find them. The 1 EXP share, like I mentioned, can be useful for putting energy on other Pokemon. It can be used to power up Greninja without Star Portal. It can just be used to save energies for a big Chien Pao 1-hit KO, which is pretty cool as well. And like I said, yeah, 3 booster energy, which not only will buff the HP of our Walking Wakes, but also is really, really needed for Brute Bonnet. So we can pull off Toxic Powder and consistently hit for good damage with our Walking Wake. And energy is going to be 4 D to E because D to E is pretty good in combination with Walking Wake. That does have a Water and 2 colorless as its attack cost. And then 8 copies of Water Energy, which should have pretty full access to with Earthen Vessel and Shuri Shill. That's the deck list. I hope you guys liked it. If you guys did, don't forget to like. If you guys see more, don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.